Last week, we were introduced to Ed Chavannes, the first person directly connected to the Laurel Church to appear in a Hollywood movie. While filming A Lady's Morals with fellow East Tennessean Grace Moore, Ed had an epiphany when he realized that he didn't like acting at all. And so when the film was finished, he hightailed it back to Knoxville so that he could marry his college sweetheart, Mary Hill. They were married in December of 1931, at which time Ed established himself as Laurel's primary song leader, which was a position that he held for several years. Ed's day job was to work at his dad's side, running the family business, the Chavannes Lumber Company. The combination of his business dealings and his natural predisposition toward volunteering in the community made Ed one of the more high-profile men in town. In fact, he was so high-profile that in 1945 he was drafted by the Citizens Protective League to run against the incumbent mayor in a special election. In typical low-key fashion, Ed was not present at the meeting in which he was tapped to be a candidate, but after being tracked down by a reporter and told that he'd been nominated to run for mayor, Ed very famously replied, "I don't really want the job, but somebody has to do it." The voters found Ed's self-effacing ways to be a strength. He very easily won the election, serving from 1946 to 1948, making Ed Chavannes the first person directly associated with the Laurel Church to be elected the mayor of Knoxville. As mayor, Ed Chavannes found himself hosting a parade of dignitaries, which he enjoyed, but after a while, he found that his enthusiasm for being mayor was about the same as his enthusiasm for being a Hollywood star. It was an interesting experience, but not much of a life. He served his 2-year term and then gladly stepped aside to focus on what he loved the most. Ed loved being a husband to Mary. He loved being a father to his 3 children, Albert, Oliver, and Fran. And he loved being a friend to the Knoxville community. With Mary at his side, Ed became a bit of a civic icon. President of the UT Alumni Association, president of the Kiwanis Club, board chairman for the United Way, Scoutmaster. These are just a few of the volunteer organizations with which Ed worked. He and Mary had a very special interest in a community program known as Mobile Meals. In fact, the program still operates out of the building behind me here on Western Avenue. Often working through churches, this organization's simple purpose was to distribute hot meals to shut-ins throughout the Knoxville area. Not only did Ed and Mary personally distribute food, they also championed the ministry at the Laurel Church, recruiting several of Laurel's members to get involved. There was a period in the 1950s and 1960s in which the Laurel Church was distributing meals to as many as 60 people per day, all because of the work of Ed Chavannes. Ed never held a formal title at Laurel. He was never an elder. He was never a deacon. From Ed's point of view, those things just got in the way of what he was most interested in. Because what he was most interested in was being a servant. When Ed died in 1990 at the age of 83, Mary and the kids requested that in lieu of flowers, donations be given to the one cause that Ed cared most about, the Laurel Church of Christ. Actor, entrepreneur, civic leader, loving husband and father, these are the kinds of things that create a legacy. And what's more, these are the kinds of men that God has sent to Laurel over and over and over again throughout our 100-year history. May He send us many more. That's this week's Laurel Minute.